Now, I spoke to Ted Henken, an associate professor at Baruch College and former consultant for the U.S. State Department, about this new immigration law and what it tells us about the direction Cuba is taking.
It is of a piece with everything else that has come out since 2008 under Raul Castro's presidency, although I wouldn't yet call it glasnost exactly, because all of the reforms that, and there have been significant reforms under Raul Castro's presidency, all of them I would characterize as significant but insufficient, or you could say they're 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Well, if we look at this particular law, I mean, there are some important caveats in the new law, some exceptions. No passports for those threatening national security or for sportsmen. So I was wondering, how much of a change is this? I mean, when we say something like threatening national security, that's a pretty wide definition, isn't it?
Yes, it is, exactly. And this is one of the things that hopefully we will see tomorrow. I know a number of people who have been denied visas and been denied the white card, the thing that has been eliminated now in the past. And so they have their bags packed and they're going to test a new law. They have passports and they have visas in them, and they're going to go to the airport to see if they will be included in this opening, or if they're going to stay on the blacklist. And so that remains to be seen, although we should say that for the vast majority of Cubans who either don't want or are fearful of speaking up, or becoming dissidents, speaking out, or speaking differently from what the party line requires, it will be a major change, at least in terms of the paperwork, in terms of the money that they have to shell out. It's going to be a great a great change in that sense. Families that will be able to see each other, people who want to live a more, you could say, back and forth, transnational, revolving door kind of a life, a modern life, instead of using this as an escape hatch, they may be able to use this as a revolving door. And I think the Cuban government is betting on that, because in the short term they're going to lose money because they're charging much less for exiting, etc. They're not charging anything except for the passport, but they're hoping that people will leave, come back, bring money. Maybe the businesses that have started to open up under Raul, the small micro enterprises, will get funding, investment in this way. And of course you have the U.S. law that this will allow people to take more advantage of the U.S. law that grants residency to Cubans after 1 year and 1 day of residency. They will be now able to stay for 24 months outside of Cuba without losing their Cuban residency. So it's kind of going to be interesting to see, starting tomorrow, how this all works out in practice.
So if the practical effect of this is, as you say, a revolving door policy, do you think this might prompt Washington to rethink its policy on the embargo against Cuba, which has been in place now for something like 50 years?
I would be surprised if it went that far, although it may prompt Washington to rethink its travel ban, the ban that it has against most Americans traveling to Cuba in a variety of ways. That has been lightened a bit under Obama's first term, and perhaps he will re-examine it and push for more under the second term. He did win Florida handily, or barely I should say, but he also statistics show that he won close to half, if not half, of the Cuban vote in Florida. And so he may have a little bit of freedom to tinker with the travel ban, although I would be surprised if this affects in any major way the overall embargo.
I'm just wondering if there could be one inherent danger for this for Cuba. There could be mass migration from Cuba, not really driven by political motives or anything like that, but simply economic migrants.
Well, that is a big question in people's minds. Will this open the floodgates? And I think that I don't expect that it will, at least in the short term, because we have to remember that people still have to get a visa to the country that they're going in, into their passport. And so Cuba may remove its iron curtain, but other countries may still be protected by a steel ring of immigration requirements. And people know in other countries, the immigration officials in other countries know that Cubans are not wealthy by any means, and so there's going to be a pressure, and they're going to have to maybe be a little bit more careful about who's granted a visa. Currently, this is especially going to be true in the United States.